Welcome to episode number 70 of the BEBC
BS.
Wow, y'all are ready to go. Podcast.
Got things to do.
Man, that was loud.
You ready for some football?
Y'all in regular season form, and it's not even the season yet.
I've been in front of the mirror practicing all morning.
In front of the mirror.
Yeah, man.
Wow, well, that was impressive. Thank you, guys. It's
all right. We're done.
That's it.
Wrap it
You
up.
didn't even say a joke this time.
No jokes to say.
No jokes? All right.
These are all at breakfast.
2 weeks till the season starts for your Allen Eagles, ladies and gentlemen. And so we're back at it, and we'll be here all season, every Saturday morning after every game. Or, well, we can't do Friday mornings, I guess. We got a couple Thursday games.
Yeah, we did.
Maybe we'll do it Thursday night. I tell you what, the Tyler Legacy games on a Thursday night, on the drive back.
We'll do a mobile podcast.
We'll do a mobile, or we'll go Facebook Live. How fun would that be?
That's scary.
That's scary.
The man just met us, and he already knows. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast, Mr. Jim Bob Puckett.
Thank you for having me.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate it.
we're going to go back in time this week. Before we get started on the current Eagles, we're going to go back, and that's why you're here.
Get into the Wayback Machine.
On the way back.
The way, okay.
Way
What is it?
back.
What is it? Hot tub. What was that?
Hot tub time machine. No.
I'm not jumping in the hot tub with you guys.
Don't look at me.
After the stories I heard at breakfast, no. It's not a safe trip.
We have a sponsor for this segment.
We do.
Yes, we do.
Well, who is it?
Well, this segment of the BEBC podcast is brought to you by Puckett's Nursery, located on 811 East McDermott in Allen. For all your landscape and botanical, well, maybe not all of Nolan's botanical needs, go to Puckett's Nursery.
Horticulturally speaking.
I have been to Puckett's. In fact, Puckett's in my old house, they designed my landscaping. And they put it in too, but they actually designed it. So
That's actually your brother, right?
That's my younger brother,
Yeah.
and kind of the first house I ever built. I moved into. I worked for him during the summer,
Yep.
running the mowing crew, and it was a barter deal. So he kept my hours, and then he landscaped my house for me.
There you go.
That was an interesting summer, and one I can't tell stories on.
Oh.
Anyway,
When you deal with family,
I tell you, it was good.
As Thad said, we're going to start another podcast for the BEBC called BEBC After Dark. Maybe that's where that
There you
should
go. Yeah.
That'll be a pay service.
Yeah. That will be mature audiences.
NSFW,
Yeah.
not safe for
Exactly.
women.
Is that what that stands for?
I'm separating myself from that comment.
Like, we do.
Your
have
wife doesn't
female
listen
listeners.
anyway.
Yeah, your
That's
wife
true.
doesn't listen.
That's true.
She wouldn't get caught dead with us.
She just doesn't like you.
That's true.
Good reason.
Yeah, West Side. So anyhow, we wanted to spend time. Thad has been going to breakfast, and Thad met you at breakfast. I don't know how long ago y'all been hanging out, but
It's all first part of the summer, I think, when we really kind of started talking a little bit.
and Thad says we need to have Jim Bob on just to talk about history in Allen. And I'll let you get started in a minute. But currently, I just wanted to let everybody know that currently, I've got to read this because you got a new title.
I did. Yep.
Jim Bob was the former athletic director for Lovejoy. As you can see, he's got Lovejoy paraphernalia on, and from 2005 till May of this year.
May of this year, yes.
Just retired from that, but now you're back as the coordinator of athletic operations and facilities for Lovejoy.
Yes. We've got a lot of projects going on right now. We're returfing baseball, softball, both stadiums at the middle school and the high school. We have grass practice fields to the north that we're going to put, kind of copying Lowry.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I mowed Lowry fields. I can't tell you how many times. In the old times, you carry the old water pipes and everything out. So
Wow.
I took care of all the facilities, the stadium there, the old Lowry Stadium. But anyway, we're copying that, and we're turfing 2 of our grass practice fields back there with lights and everything.
Double
So
wide.
A lot of things going on out there.
Awesome. So you're busy.
Busy, very, very
For a
busy.
retired man, you're busy.
Yes. And I wouldn't have any other way, because I guarantee you,
Wouldn't be.
my wife and I have been married 39 years, and we wouldn't make it to 40 if I didn't have this particular job. And Thad's met her, and she's pretty direct. And matter of fact, she became known as Aunt Sally back in the Allen days.
Really?
Yeah. When we opened up the brand new school, what I call the University of Allen now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so she opened up at the time it was the bookstore.
Okay.
And so they sold just like a college bookstore and everything else. And so she ran that. And all the football players, she has a knack for just pulling out some, the players that may have had some issues, and they'd sit down and talk to her, and she took care of them and everything else like that. And so she became known as Aunt Sally.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's start with a history here of you. And we know, I heard at breakfast this morning, you're a Plano High School graduate.
Correct. I graduated.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, I'm the oldest of five.
All right.
I've already mentioned Mark. Mark's my younger brother that owns Puckett's Nursery. He's got a lot of Allen history. Chuck is my other brother who has been working for Dunkin' Donuts for about 20-something years. Just moved back to the Metroplex from Boston. My oldest younger sister, Polly Ivanelli, lives out here, does horses and everything else.
Okay.
All her children have come through Lovejoy. I have coached them, and it's been kind of crazy. Then my baby sister, Charlotte Sharp, she lives in Highland Park. Matter of fact, next door to Babe Laufenberg.
Oh, really?
And so her and her husband have a daughter, Margaret, and so that's the history of my family. But I graduated from Plano back in 1977. My parents moved out here to Lucas in 1978. So
When did you move out here?
95.
Oh, okay. So it's
Yep, 95.
Yeah.
But I graduated from J.J. Pierce in 77. So
there you go.
rivals. They always kicked our butts.
I don't know about that. 77, we 76, I guess.
It was a lull.
Yeah. But anyway, they moved out here right there off of Westmoreland Road, and it's kind of behind the old Lucas when there was nothing out here.
Sure.
And
77,
so
yeah.
anyway, I was at Stephen F. playing football, and Mark and them. Mark, has a history here, and Chuck have a history here playing football for John Pierce back in the 70s and 80s, and so it was a great time. As a matter of fact, a lot of things that I brought to Lovejoy, I stole, so to speak, or borrowed from Allen.
Yeah.
And John Pierce, I was really impressed with him and how he related to all the kids, and just his relationship with the football players. And so anyway, I graduated from Stephen F. In the fall of 1981. Came up to took a job in Van Alstyne, so I stayed there 2 years.
Wow. Now, how small was Van Alstyne?
Van Alstyne was a two-way school.
Okay.
And let me tell you, I coached everything. From middle school to JV to varsity. You're coaching both sides of the ball. Then basketball, middle school, JV, varsity. I was the assistant. This is what's crazy. I was assistant varsity baseball coach, varsity track, and head tennis coach. Okay?
So that means you just had to drive the bus, right?
Pretty much. But the tennis court was over here. I did outfielders and pitchers, and so I'm hitting fungo to outfielders, working on cutoffs, and I'd go, all right, hey, work on your backhand, And but luckily we had a second baseman and a couple of girls that won. I had to take them to regional in Stephenville, and it was funny. My second baseman, he got beat, and superintendent was the golf coach, so I left the girls with him. Me and the second baseman got in the car. We drove to White Ride. I took my tennis shirt off, put my baseball shirt on, buddy hum at first base. So that was interesting.
Wow.
But then in '83, the fall of '83, Coach Ken Purcell had taken over the previous year. And Ken was one of my coaches at Plano. Okay. And so I had the opportunity to come in and work with him. So I was there from '83 to 2001. Okay. So I worked with Ken for 12 years, and then Todd Graham came in, and I worked with him 6 years, became his defensive coordinator my last 4. And then I went on to McKinney North. We opened up that school, brand new school, and so I stayed there 4 years. And the ironic thing was when Lovejoy was coming open, I was kind of looking, and on on the internet every day. I was teaching summer school over at McKinney High School, economics and government. And so sure enough, when it popped open, I applied. I think I saw it at 1:30, and I had my application in at 3 o'clock that afternoon.
Yep.
But, being in Allen for 18 years, I got to know a lot of this community. And so everything was so tight together in the history of, the two schools. So I knew this would be a great opportunity to kind of open up. They gave me a sheet of paper and said, here, build an athletic program. And so I was fortunate to come in 2005, the year before the school opened. So I traveled all over the state to, all the top football schools, the basketball, soccer. I got to talk to all the coaches and things, how did you implement the school or your program and all that. Wow. Then I went to UIL and talked to Dr. Charles Broderick. And I came in with this big notebook, boom, set it down on his desk and said, all right, tell me how to build a program. And he just looked at me like I was crazy.
He said, throw that book away.
Yeah, exactly. So he gave me some hints and everything else. We had a good relationship. And I said, well, you just became part of the Lovejoy coaching staff. So, as you know, we've been fortunate to win a few state championships in volleyball. Well, the AD goes down and dons the medals. And Broderick was down there and he pulled me aside. He goes, you ain't sent me a hat or a shirt yet. So, I had to do that. But in 2006, I was head football coach, AD, and we were blessed to get off to a fast start. But a lot of the principles and everything else came from Allen Eagle football, between Coach Ken Purcell and really Todd Graham. Yep. We were struggling there a little bit in the early 90s as we moved up into 5A, which is 6A now. Yep. Our first group, we had a good group. We went 8-2 when they only took one team, Grapevine. Flower Mound, matter of fact, Flower Mound Marcus was the one that beat us and ended up winning the state championship. But we struggled a few years after that. And Coach Purcell retired, or he moved on to AD and then went to Denton. But here comes Todd Graham. And in 1995, and what I saw him, we were talking about helmets earlier. He came in, gutted the whole place, put all new logos, everything else on it, new uniforms and everything, and learned a lot from him about structure, about how to change the mindset of kids.
Yep.
And the rest is kind of the history of
Try to create a culture. So
exactly. That we had a good culture. It's just different. Ken did some great things. Ken was great as far as organization. We made some long runs there in the mid '80s in regional finals in the Cotton Bowl and Texas Stadium and so forth. But as you kind of get into that, and you're the smallest, 6A, kind of took your lumps. And so Todd came in, learned a lot.
Excuse me. Remember, we were the smallest 6A school or 5A school.
Exactly. Yeah. At one point, we were the smallest, but it was a great opportunity to learn from him.
Sure.
So Coach Purcell and Coach Pierce and Coach Graham had a big influence on me, plus Tom Kimbrough and John Clark at Plano. A lot of stuff that I learned, I implemented here at Lovejoy.
So how long were you the football coach at Lovejoy?
From 2006 to 2012. And I stepped down in February of 2012 to go straight AD. Let me tell you, my wife and my children, both my daughters, would not speak to me for 2 weeks when I gave up the head football coach.
Really?
Yeah. And that was a real tough decision. But and many of y'all probably know the AD and the head football coach piece, there's just a lot of stuff as we were growing. Yeah. There was just a lot more dynamics that I was having to be pulled to meetings outside the district that didn't allow me to do the things I love doing. That's watch video and watch film. Yep. Even though I was able to bring it home, on our iPads. My wife reminded me, "You're not home." "Yeah, I am right here." "No, you're not."
Yeah.
You're not there.
And I said, "Well, I'm trying to get Christmas present paid for." But it was something I made a decision and went straight AD in 12.
So going to your Allen days, now your defensive side of the ball, but which position were you coached specifically for, or as you made it up to defensive coordinator?
Here's what's funny. I started my first 2 years in Ford Middle School, and at the time you coached middle school athletics, but we were also coaching freshman football. And so I moved up to varsity in 1985. And in 85, this will show you about the size of Allen. I was the varsity defensive end coach, head cross country, and head track. All right. So I would have to get up at 4, 5 o'clock, get a bus, get our cross country kids, drive them to cross country meet, get them back, drop them off. And, all the other coaches are there first thing in the morning, grading their film, doing all that kind of stuff. Well, they would take a lunch. I would show up at lunch. Nobody was there. I'm sitting there grading my kids. And so, for a while, I went through that for a couple of years. And so I coached defensive ends. Joe Barnett at the time, who was the offensive line coach and coordinator, he ended up getting a Coppell head job and left. So I thought, it's always known that if you coach the offensive line, you're pretty valuable. You can probably get a job anywhere you want to in Texas. So I took the offensive line job, and I coached that for about 5 years, and the last few years with Coach Purcell. Okay. And then when Coach Graham came in, we had to do kind of a, if you will, getting up on the grease board, talk football, and kind of do a showcase and a test with him. And so I ended up coaching all the receivers. So I was the wide receiver coach for 3 years with Coach Graham, and I did all the signaling and everything else. Everybody loved my naked bootleg, because you'd do the boot and then I'd shimmy down the pants, and I think everybody else across knew naked bootleg was coming up, so I had to change that.
That's funny.
But then in 1998, Coach Graham asked me to be the defensive coordinator, and so I was that, and I coached the linebackers the first year, the defensive line in the secondary the third. So I've coached pretty much every position except the QB spot.
It's funny that you flip to the offensive side of the ball, because like here recently, Kane took and he hired Cole Carter as his outside linebacker coach, and Cole played receiver at Allen. But it's all about knowing how to break down film and coaching the system. That you can learn whether you played it or not. You can still coach it by doing that.
I played weak side linebacker in college, and in high school I played tight end. So, then as you're going up and you're coaching both sides of the football as well when you're sub-varsity. So you have to know, the whole scheme and everything else. And, back in the day, the lot, for some of you that may not know this, as you're driving down, Main Street, McDermott, and the Baptist church is there on the left, that vacant field on that right side that has been there forever.
Yeah.
That's where the middle school, that's where we practiced.
Yep.
It was just a little gravel road back in the day. Yep. And this is kind of ironic. Me and Chris Jones, who's at Prestonwood right now, I was talking to you about keeping the fields. Well, we took those water pipes and hooked them and watered it. We had that little lot there, if you will.
It was beautiful.
And it looked like the outfield of Ranger Stadium when it was turf. I mean, we verticutted it. It had the markings and everything else. And one year we're scrimmaging, Waxahachie, supposed to be scrimmaging up at our place, and it had rained and rained and rained. Well, we moved that high school varsity scrimmage over to that field. And there were parents sitting around in, lawn chairs all the way around it. And Coach Jones and I were just, you got to be kidding. You just tore up our field. We spent the whole summer on,
That's funny.
So that's just another little sidebar, kind of where Allen was and where Allen is, today.
Wow.
It was pretty cool.
So you sat back, and I guess when you're in the middle of it, you may not feel it or see it as much as if you're not, but the growth of the city of Allen.
Yes.
I mean, like you said, you were in college when your parents moved to Lucas, right? So, 1977, 78, 79, there wasn't a whole lot out here.
No.
I mean, I moved to Allen in 1995, and it was 19,000 people. And so, to sit back and watch that, and you've been, obviously, you were well engaged in it, and then, even though you weren't there anymore, you didn't go far.
Right.
And so you've seen everything that's happened at Allen. From an outsider, I'll tell you an outsider now, just a view of what's happened there. What is your perspective on it as far as?
It's, my wife moved here in '63, and I remember I had a buddy from Plano that moved up here.
Okay.
And so one Saturday we drove up here to see him, and I'm sitting here thinking that one light at Highway 5 in McDermott, that's all there was.
Yeah.
Was that single light.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, why did he move up here to this hick town?
Godforsaken
You know,
hick
I
town.
mean,
Yeah.
he just left the big city of Plano, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And why did he do that? Well, let me tell you, Alan's been whipping, that little hick town has been whipping on my boys from Plano for the last few years. You know, my wife lets me know about it, you know, with her being a graduate from Allen. But,
David's wife is from Plano grad.
Graduated
Yeah.
in 80, Plano.
yep.
So they
I
have
graduated from Richardson, and it's funny you said that, you know, 'cause back when I was in Richardson, Plano wasn't that big of a town. I mean, we played against Plano when Plano was just Plano High. There was no East and West.
Yeah.
I mean, all that was.
I was coming up and watching Plano football in '65
Yeah.
and '66 when they were just dominating and on
Yeah.
TV and everything. It was a long drive because I lived in Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was a long drive. I
my
thought we
God.
were gone for years.
You thought you were at the Oklahoma border?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's really going back. I got a little quick story on Plano. My senior year, obviously with the name Jim Bob Puckett.
Yeah.
You know, they know I'm a Texan.
How Texan can you
Well,
be?
then we were getting ready to play Sherman, and Sherman was number 1 in the state. And we finally moved up to number 10 because we lost a lot of kids, you know, during my junior year, and we had to play them up in Sherman. And I remember KVIL just heard on the, you know, they said the big game up in Sherman this week, number 1 versus number 10. We got Billy Don Jackson versus Jim Bob Puckett. You know, they were making fun of our names.
Yeah.
And then here comes that what was it, Semi-Tough with Burt Reynolds and Chris Christopherson, and you got Billy Clyde Puckett. And so I'm going, okay, hold on,
Wait a
time out a minute.
That name,
You know, 'cause
image,
that
likeness thing was not happening.
Well,
back
that was
then.
the same time that was being filmed.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, okay, did they, you know, you
Somebody
got Billy
hear that?
Clyde, you got Billy Don,
Yeah.
and
Still a little above.
it's a little, but it was kind of crazy, you know, during those times. But just seeing Allen grow from that single light, and when I got here in '83, I remember the old stadium, you know, where people used to, you know, come up, and there was the big parking. I don't know what you call them, but anyway, they were still there from the old days of that original stadium, and that new stadium, which is Lowry Stadium. They can, you know, tore that one down. And
The old
came
double
back.
wide.
Double
Yeah,
wide.
exactly. But then I knew when, you know, Allen with the old, what is the Lowry Center, that was the new high school back in the day.
Yep.
And, you know, when we made the transition to go over to the current high school, it was kind of funny because as I was defense coordinator, you know, we had the indoor facility, and I had my office overlooked the indoor part, and then I had another little spot where all the coaches were in that big room
The bull- yeah,
that
bull pit,
overlooked that, you know, that field.
Right.
And I remember Coach Graham, him and Dr. Irwin, they wanted to make sure they were going to keep Allen a one high school town.
Sure.
They looked kind of like at South Lake Carroll, I believe, and they knew what they had done. They wanted Allen to be a one high school town. And I know Todd and Dr. Irwin had traveled all over, and I think even with Bubba at the time, had traveled all over the country looking at stadiums and how, you know, that office would eventually look into what the current stadium is right now. And, you know, they had drawings and everything set up, and I thought, well, I don't want to see that thing ever get built.
Yeah.
You know, well, don't ever say never in Allen, let me tell you that.
Yeah.
But just to see all that development and kind of being part of that growth
Sure.
of, you know, going from that old high school to the newer portion of Lowry. I taught economics in that old B wing. You know, you can see the classroom still every time you drive by McDermott. So a lot of history going down that hall, and but it's been remarkable to see the growth and what's really developed into one of the top-notch programs in the state and even in the country.
Talk a little bit about, I guess, programs, and when you said that they wanted to keep it a one school town, and the feeder programs and stuff. Now, Plano has had a little bit of a hard time because their feeder systems, they're a junior high, high school, and then senior high, and the senior highs didn't really have the true feeder systems with the high schools. And then how did you kind of get into that? When did you first kind of see that whole bring your program from the junior highs to the high schools and so
Well,
on?
when I started coaching middle school at Ford, we ran the veer, split back veer, and so we
Good old
had,
days.
Yeah, the old days, 3 yards and literally a cloud of dust after they tore up our field over there.
Never going to let that
Yeah,
go.
right. That's still a sensitive. I still look over there every day. Every time I pass it, because it's a hard one. But anyway, running that offense, and at the time I was going to tell you, it was me and Chris Jones. We were the 7th grade football coaches. Bruce Coachman and Glenn Berber were the 8th grade. Back then we had like 85 something kids.
Wow.
And so, the old high school got torn down now, where the
So at the time, Ford was obviously the only middle school.
Ford
we
was
had.
the only the only middle
Didn't have
school.
Curtis or Erickson.
Forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the only middle school at the time, and so we worked the offense, and we ran exactly the same thing. And I would kind of coach the offense. Chris would coach the defense. It was funny. We had the B team show up there. Probably about 6:45. We'd get out there as the sun was coming up at them. We'd work them, and then I'd take the B team in, and the A team would be coming out. So I'd let the B team kind of get showered and everything, and by the time I got them coming back out, Chris had already got them stretched, and so it's kind of that weird thing of two people coaching that many kids, and having kids sit out beside the field trying to find a tree to get some shade. But just to see that progression to go from there, and then looking at instilling those plays and understanding what it's going to be an Allen Eagle. And then, freshmen, we coached the freshmen as well, moving up. So you coach both sides of the ball there. So we ran a multiple defense. It was 1, 2, 3. That was the signals 8 and all that. It was just kind of like the cowboy flex is where we kind of really got that. And so we could move people around based on shades and all that. So teaching those kids at the middle school level, they held us accountable for that. And I tell you, we had some really smart kids. When you look at 5 running plays and probably 2 passing plays, those kids within 2 or 3 weeks already knew that portion of the playbook. So I remember going to Coach Purcell and saying, "Hey, they're bored. We got to give me some more.
Yeah.
Give me some more so I can install it." And same thing on defense. And so we were fortunate to have good, hardworking, smart kids that by the time they were really freshmen and sophomores pretty much had the playbook in hand.
Scheme down.
And just how we're going to coach kids and the philosophy and everything else.
Awesome. All right, Ken Purcell, Mr. Radio or TV star.
TV star now.
Do you give him grief about that?
Let me tell you. I've got something on my phone, but I know we don't have time. But
we got nothing but that.
I'm watching Fox Sports. On a Friday. We played on a Thursday, so I always come up and I'm kind of texting him. Well, he called me earlier in the day, and he said, "Hey, now you were number 85, right? And just tied in and playing." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Well, they're wanting me to do a segment on the Veer, the Houston Veer, what we ran at Plano." I said, "Okay." And so anyway, he was talking about some of the plays out of that, kind of the trick plays and everything. And so he was talking about the Veer and everything else. Well, I texted him on air, and I said, "Hey, don't forget to tell him about the belly bump, and that's where the fullback was a little bit, and we wrap it around and stick it, and he'd just sit there, and then, everybody's over here, and there it goes. Well, evidently he had his phone sitting up, and it comes up, Jim Bob, and it starts saying, well, the two people kind of looked over there, and they go, "Oh my God," and so Coach Purcell goes, "Yeah, I had a player just text me and said, don't forget the belly bump play." And the guy next to him, he goes, "Yeah, it was Jim Bob." And the lady was there is going, "Yeah, Jim Bob?" And he goes, "I swear, it's right there. There it is on his phone, Jim Bob." And so as they're going through, that lady goes, we're in Texas talking football, Dairy Queen and Jim Bob, and it was like, okay. So I called him the next day and I go, "Where's my cut? You used my name without my permission." But yes, I would get on there and I would, we text back and forth, and Ken loves to talk. He's got so many stories about all the coaches and players all through the state, and it's kind of funny seeing him. But he was a special person.
Yeah, we ran the beer at our high school. Our trick play was called Auburn 34. It was a counter where you faked the one running back and you gave it to the other one. That was our trick play. I mean, I'm telling
Auburn
you.
34. Who was Auburn 34?
Bo Jackson.
Well, this was back before Bo Jackson.
The baseball player.
The legend.
But it was the 3 back through the 4 holes, whereas it got that. But I don't know why it was Auburn 34, but that was our trick play.
Tommy Agee, I think, was 34 too.
Yeah, so that's true too.
What took Ken to Denton?
He
Money.
probably
It doesn't hurt.
he when he kind of went to the straight AD part, and they brought in Todd. Todd was kind of promised that assistant AD, and then he had an offer from Denton. He taught a sports class in North Texas,
Okay.
and so there was kind of a collaboration between Denton ISD and North Texas. So he decided he thought that was a better opportunity for him at the time. Yeah, and so he went over there.
Now, you didn't have the great Brad Leland at Plano when you were there.
No,
No, okay.
He's a youngster.
Being an Allen
Leland was
resident.
after, he was like 80s.
he was in the 80s.
Oh, was he in the
yeah.
80s?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. My
He just
senior
looks
year
old.
was 76. Was a season of 76. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm an old fart. I'm telling you.
I'm 78, so that's not that bad. He's 77. Nolan's
Yeah.
94, whatever.
Yeah.
94. Oh, but he's a lumberjack, though.
Yeah.
I'm a lumberjack.
There you go, Axon.
There you go. There's some.
Nolan used to spin the records down there. He was the DJ.
Yeah.
Was Party Center there when you were down there?
Yeah, Centers, Whitmore, Hamill. One other. The Whitmore and Centers were obviously the 2 big names that went right off to the pros.
The one
Made an
thing,
impact.
the one thing I remember is that when we played Spring Westfield there in a playoff game
gosh.
on the campus, y'all had the biggest squirrels I had ever seen in my. And those things were tame.
And they come
right up to you.
They come
the
right up to
nuts.
you expecting food.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's funny. I'll never forget that when we
They'll
walked on
climb
that
up your
campus
jeans,
and
your
headed
leg.
to the
If you're wearing
step-
jeans, they'll climb right up your leg.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Lord have mercy. That's a meal for 5.
They're very tame.
Exactly. Well, I want to get into a little bit your history in athletics and the situation that has now come up with the NCAA and college athletics with name, image, and likeness, and how you feel that is going to change. We've already seen a prominent, local quarterback skip his senior year, already has endorsements, and how you think that is going to change the landscape of high school athletics, especially for those who are, your 5-star recruits that are very talented. And
I kind of equate it to when these teams get to a bowl game and a big bowl game or whatever, and if they're not going to play for the national championship or whatever, a lot of the big stars may opt out and not play because they want to risk, obviously. And I there's part of me that understands it, and there's a part of me that it hates it because of team. Yeah. But now this stuff, when high school seniors can, without taking a snap on that campus, how a company can promise them so much money is beyond me. It really is.
I'll say, to me, the companies are the ones that are really taking the risk here.
Exactly.
Because we've seen
some big busts.
Your 4-star recruits
fall flat.
Well, here's a great example, and I don't mean to call the kid out, but the Cedar Hill quarterback that went to Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Doesn't even play a snap and is already kicked out of school. And it happens.
Yeah.
And it happens frequently.
More often than you like.
I just hate to, the thing I hate to see is the experience that young man is not going to have.
Yep.
You can't get those memories like before we came on, the stories that y'all have, really, seriously, because the stories y'all have about Allen Eagle football and following this storied, team in this school is special, and you don't get those back.
Yeah, but I don't think kids today care. They don't care.
That's what worries me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, right now we're already seeing this name, image, and likeness determining where kids are going to college. It's now a legal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's already affected, my favorite college. As y'all know, we lost a recruit to
Prairie View A&M.
What?
He likes the halftime.
Well, and look at the other part of it too.
Arkansas.
With,
For those
yeah.
of you who don't know, it's Arkansas.
Razorbacks.
Yeah.
Well, so with name, image, likeness, you've got to be able to graduate early to be able to get out there. So,
Right.
does it encourage kids to
Yes.
be more studious?
Well,
I don't know.
If you want the payday,
Well, it's not that hard
Yeah.
to acquire the
credit hours.
credit hours. It's not. It's
I know.
not.
You can pass with all C's.
it's true.
Studious depends how you define
Studious is
yeah.
as studious does.
Yeah, I mean,
I would
Forrest
think so
Gump
to
in.
get the credits required
Yeah.
to do that.
it's
But
just-
it's just unfortunate, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Again, I'm kind of that old school, that team, and but I'm like you. They're really taking a chance. They haven't taken a snap.
Yeah.
What's to say they don't get hurt or they can't make it into school, whatever. I don't know. I don't know if the kids are ready for all that.
well, that's
you know.
and that's the other part of it. And I think all of us. I'm trying to think here. I'm looking around the room because we all have different age kids, and I think about my daughter's a senior at Alabama, graduates in December. She's not an athlete, but if she was, and if she was getting $500,000 in endorsement deals, I'd be terrified of what my daughter would all of a sudden become, not only because she has all that money, but her friends know she has all that money.
Yeah.
And the influences around a 22-year-old kid that really, and that's a 22-year-old, not an 18-year-old, which is even worse.
Yeah.
The whole issue to me is, what are they surrounded with? Do they have enough structure around them to be able to come, whatever the amount of money it is, to be able to handle that? Because their natural impulse is to do what?
Spend.
Spend.
Well,
And you
that's
see that all
kind of
over the
why they
place.
changed the whole rules in the NBAs, because those young kids were getting these major contracts, and then whoom, people swooped in on them. And they said,
they were
"Well,
broke."
now all of a sudden we're not. Now these kids, we realize that they're not mature enough to handle all this.
Yep.
So now it's got to. Okay, you can't go straight out of high school anymore.
Yep.
But now you're going to give them money straight out of high school. It's the same thing. You're
Yes.
going to have. You're going to create. Now all of a sudden they need an entourage around them.
I mean, the people have been arguing that fact. The colleges and NCAA has been making money off these kids' image and likeness for decades, and the people, the proponents to that, who wanted the kids to be paid for, have got it now. And I think it's going to, good or bad, it's probably going to be the end of the NCAA. And I think a lot of people are,
Well, with these super conferences that are coming
and
up,
you're going to
they're
have
gonna
all
end
these
up
super
chucking the
conferences,
NCAA.
SEC starting it, looking at it, but the thing about it is, it's now, I follow, we all are on Twitter and so forth, and you see all these tweets now that these kids, these student athletes in college, are now showing, hey, look at the car I just got because they just signed a deal with the car dealership there. Well, they've been, that's been going on for
They would've had the
years,
car
but now
anyway.
they can actually
Now they can
publish
show it, yeah.
Now they can actually just show it.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, all of that's migrating down. So talk about IMG and some of the other for-profit institutes. What's your take on that?
Well, it's you can win state championships if you can collect the best talent, you
Yeah.
know. But at the same time, that talent still has to be coached, and that talent still has to have somebody there to direct them and give them the leadership and everything else. But sometimes I know that's one thing that in the UIL with private schools and everything else coming on board. Now we got the homeschool students that within their can also participate within their local and their homeschool district, I should say. So there's just a lot of things that are moving fast, really fast, and this NIL is one of those that I'll be honest with you, I hadn't paid a lot of attention to it, but when I saw the South Lake Carroll young man having to make a decision like that, I kind of started researching a little bit more, and it's unfortunate in some cases. Fortunate for him, but maybe unfortunate for the experience, because that's what I look at. When I look at coming out here, all the kids that I coached all over the year and the years, and my relationship with them, as I told everybody, we've won championships and everything else, and I can take all those trophies and put them aside. The trophy is when that young man or young lady that you knew has their family picture. They give you a family portrait or whatever. If you come in my office, you're going to see a lot of pictures of my ex-athletes that I've coached. That's the trophies. And that's what worries me about some of these athletes. They're not going to have this with their teams.
Well, and I feel bad for Riley Dodge because he didn't have time to recruit another quarterback.
I don't.
I did not say that. Okay, I did not say that.
Every coach has their challenges.
I know Riley and Todd.
Oh hell, we've been getting accused of it for decades.
We have a good relationship with our South Lake brethren. They'll understand that joke well. But
It's not like they listen to this anyway.
No.
Of all days, they probably do this one.
yeah, that'll be great. But no, it is an interesting. Well, and it does. It's going to be a challenge for not only teams but for coaches, for administrators, and you never know who's going to start sniffing around high schools.
Well, that's
too.
to your point, Riley. You look at that; his kids leave. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the big one. Now, they probably have somebody in waiting.
Yep.
But
He wasn't ready for that
right
now.
Yeah, you go. Let's say you go through spring ball and everything's dictated on that quarterback, and here's the backup, second and third that they get their reps, and all of a sudden, whoosh,
Gone.
here we go.
Gone in 1st of August. I mean, it wasn't like it was.
There was
The final decision, I think, was the 1st of this month. Yeah,
it was. So it's challenging, and I feel bad for him.
But I tell you, Riley, knowing Riley and that group, he probably heard it early enough.
Oh yeah.
You would hope they had a
Believe me,
conversation with him.
he's got a plan, and I guarantee he's got another one. Will step right in there. And,
they're traditionally pretty good at quarterback every year somehow.
And with his knowledge of the quarterback position and knowing that offense, like he did, I don't know if Dad shared it that much going into last year, but
He wanted to whoop that butt. That's for sure.
there's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Who's your daddy?
Yeah, who's your daddy
after
now?
the game.
I haven't taught you all my secrets, young
My dad would have told me, he said, I've taught you everything you know, but I haven't taught you everything I know.
I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that was fun, though. That was pretty cool.
It really was
It made
pretty cool.
interest in a game that most of us probably wouldn't have,
Well,
may or may not have
Nope.
watched.
Yeah.
I would have never thought South Lake was going to beat Duncanville.
Yeah.
And then I thought maybe Westlake has a chance to beat North Shore, but not really.
Yeah.
And both of them win to show up.
It was just
Just to happen.
Just
Exactly.
goes to show you two teams looking forward to pass that game.
That or
I mean, no
the
doubt
way,
about
the
it.
way
They were
the
looking past
Dodgers
it.
coach unity and team play shows that that's a route you can and a philosophy that can overcome.
It's
Get
always
the
a
absolute
successful
most out of
philosophy.
individuals who may
Yeah.
not stack up with the other team, but
Because
when
on
they work
paper-
together.
That's right.
I mean, you look at the middle linebacker from Duncanville that went to Alabama. What a specimen! Blackshear or Berkshire or something.
God, he looked like he was 30 years old.
And this was a man, and of course he impacted the game in some. But you think they
he's
have several of those guys.
Well,
And
running
we're
back-
lucky in Allen. I mean, we're a big school, but we don't have linebackers like that. I mean,
Well, that running back from Trinity last year, and he moving to quarterback this year.
Quarterback now.
Ollie Gordon.
yeah. But I mean, just
just gonna run him.
physically, you think South Lake doesn't have a chance, but schematically and philosophy-wise, they proved different.
There's lots of times we didn't think Holland Park
They've
had
always
a
been a
chance
pain
too.
in our
They were always
backside.
just so consistent.
Yeah.
Well taught.
Randy
Going
Allen,
back to the culture deal.
Yeah.
It's that culture piece, and I know that's something that we're looking at here at Coach Ross and everything. And I have to give a plug to him because in the COVID, for him to come, we hired him in February of 20. He did all his training, I'm sure just like Alan and everybody else, through Zoom.
Yeah, what a challenge.
Zoom. And June 8th was the first day that those kids showed up. And I remember us putting all the dots out, social distancing, checking temperature, all that. And, for him to go 13-1
to navigate through
and
that,
really,
that's-
I thought if it wasn't for a block punt and a kickoff return, Alito knew that we had them. And but for him to But I looked, to your point, I looked at that coaching staff.
Yep.
And how they related to kids. I mean, that coaching staff were kids coaching kids. I mean, really, they were that young, energetic, positive, and everything else. And I know Chad Morris. I know he's got that same energy and everything else. I'm excited to see. I really am.
Yeah, we
excited
are
to see what Chad's going to do, because he's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a unique coaching staff too.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
kind
so
of
they're
very
all young
with-
too.
Yes.
With Branscombe
That's
on the
what-
defensive
that's
side.
what
It
was-
was who gives up a head coach job to come up to Allen to be a defensive coordinator.
You want to be
That's
around the
Somebody that has
BEBC?
Chad Morris as the head coach. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
We're the draw. We're the draw.
Yeah.
Well,
We're gonna get
Chad,
talked
you
about on
gotta
the
meet
BEBC podcast now.
BEBC.
I want to ask a question that it's totally nothing, because I'm always interested in, and I know Lovejoy has played in Eagle Stadium. And what is the perspective, or what are the thought of the kids that actually get to play? Do they enjoy it, or is it just? And I know there may be a little Lovejoy Allen thing, but as far as I was actually going to ask the question, when you think of venues in the state that you've been to, which ones did you enjoy most playing? Not you yourself, but the teams. And
Well, obviously, at the time, Texas Stadium was a big deal, and I got to play there my junior year, and I never understood how they played on that field, because I remember you could put my hand down and I see a rip, and I pick it up and there's concrete.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay.
Isn't there a severe crowd
Oh,
on that
my
field?
God.
So you
Dude.
can't see the other team's feet from your sideline.
We played in Allen, when I was here, we played Kilgore there, and we played Longview there.
Yep.
And sure enough, you look over there and you saw.
Yeah, that crown is so high. You're on the
Yeah.
sideline. You're seeing waist, and maybe
Yeah.
up here sometimes.
Yeah, Jay,
Wow.
my brother-in-law, who
Yeah.
he would tell their kids, hey, when you run an out route, you're gonna have to get your feet under you, or you're gonna fall flat on your face when you get towards,
Well, we were fortunate enough to go out there, the times we played out there as Allen, to go out on Wednesdays
Yeah.
and practice. And the big thing, we were throwing team, and you could tell the ball sailed, because he's used to throwing, and the ball would
he's
sail.
lower. Yeah.
And, Bruce Coachman was a coach, a buddy of mine that I coached with, and he was assistant principal out here in Lovejoy. Well, one Wednesday we go out there to practice, and we're getting ready to play Longview. One of our buses breaks down on 6:35. And so before practice, Bruce and I would always have this punting game. We would punt, and if you get in the end zone and all that, you score. But anyway, we got out there and we punted. We threw routes to each other for about an hour and a half, because the half of the team was still stuck on 6:35. So by the time practice started, we're soaking wet, and we're like, I don't know if I can do it. But to go back, it was, Texas Stadium. We flew out when Coach Graham got there. He put North Mesquite. Matter of fact, we played in the first Tom Landry Classic out at Mesquite Memorial when it was 102 degrees out on that turf, and we played at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But we beat them.
Yeah.
And I remember, Gino Pierce does the PC. He had been working with us, and by the middle of the third quarter, I was walking up and down. I said, "Look at them. We got them. We're getting little sips. They're over there, hunkered down, getting watered down." I said, "It's over," and we ended up beating them like 35-14. And but that was a cool venue. But then Odessa Permian came here, and Rory Williams. They came here to Allen Eagle Stadium on a rainy night, and they beat us pretty good. Well, the next year we go out and fly out to Ratliff.
Yeah.
And I remember that was a pretty cool experience, because we get off, the airplane, and we're going in the terminal to get all our bags and everything else. And so we're heading to the bus, school buses they provided. And all of a sudden on the PA in the airport, "Can we have your attention? Can we have your attention, please? Go Mojo, beat Allen." And so, and
that's all in right there.
well,
buddy.
let me tell
Even
you,
in
that
the
was a
airport.
pretty easy game, because I stood over there on the sideline and I went 32 cover. That's all I did all night. We whipped the living snot out of them. you know, because our kids, it was payback.
Right.
And so I remember getting on that plane. It was party hardy time. He went, the pilot flew specially over Ratliff and went,
Did a wing dip.
and took off. So he gave him a couple of, he was talking smack on the way back. It was hilarious.
There you go.
But
There you go.
that was a memorable moment there, you know. But
So what year would that have been?
that was 90. No, I take that back. That was that was 99.
28-7.
Yeah, 99.
That is a shellacking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, I'm telling you, I was serious. It was 32 that all night. That's all I called. And I'd call up there and I said, y'all want to run anything else? Nope.
Nope.
You know,
Run it till it doesn't work.
yeah. Well, Brandon Villarreal, when you have a linebacker like that,
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a name I
Oh, I
remember.
remember that.
that young man got me the Lovejoy job.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
You like those players.
Like those players. But to get back to the Allen Eagle Stadium, you know, it's something special to me to see that stadium actually there on that location.
Yeah.
After talking to y'all about the vision of overseeing that stadium there. But I'll be honest with you, when we first walked in, I was more giddy than the kids when we walked into the stadium to play. And just, you know, you're going, God dang, you know.
Yeah.
This is our kids love it, and our fans love it. You know, it really is, and so we're hoping to. I think I was telling y'all at breakfast, hopefully we're going to be back in the Tom Landry Classic, you know, next 2 years. So we hope we can do that.
Well, I know we got places to go and things to do, but we want to thank you for stopping by this morning.
Oh,
Thad,
yeah.
thanks
Awesome.
for doing that, and
Yeah.
we'll do this again.
Sounds
We'll,
good. Appreciate everything. Appreciate y'all. This has been a pretty cool experience getting to know y'all.
Yeah.
See y'all's commitment, and I mean,
We should be committed.
if y'all on the podcast here, if you're on the podcast, you should see this place. It is a shrine to Allen Eagle football, and you can tell that these
Pepsi
guys
Cola,
are the Allen
Florida
Balding
State.
Eagles. Let me tell you, and I'm getting right there with them. So
Bring it on.
that's why I wore my hat. Didn't want a bad hair day.
We do wish Lovejoy well. I mean,
Yeah.
like I say, James and I live out here in Lucas, and we follow what goes on, and you know, it's just right down the road. I pass it every day on the way to work, so it's ranked number 1 by Dave Campbell. So there's a little bit of pressure this
A
year.
lot of pressure,
And that's,
as we said.
that's hard to live up to.
Yeah.
Well, what one year, Allen won, Prosper won. What? And there was like 3. How many?
One what?
The state championship. We had all those teams from Collin County. And it'd be nice to have that again this year.
Yeah,
sure.
Lovejoy.
2008. Matter of fact, it was
It was
2008.
2008.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we played Prosper over at John Clark in 2009, the regional finals, and
Salina.
we ended up beating them, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and if Wiley had
Wiley.
fulfilled their part of it,
Yep. So
Collin County is, you know, I think they still do it in the county courthouse. They got all those state champions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we
let's
don't
do
spend
that
much
again
time
this
at the
year.
courthouse.
Nolan does.
So those are
Botanical issues. Yeah. Hey, one thing before we go, guys, and this has been, you know, we talk a lot about life and things going on, and
Ooh, mature subject coming on.
I know it is. I'm going to get
Well, it's-
emotional.
it's
I
heavy,
shouldn't
man.
be. It
It's
is
heavy.
heavy. It's bothered me all week, and you know, growing up in Florida and being a Florida State fan,
Yeah.
this week has been, ugh. You know, I can feel it right now, and you know, Bobby Bowden passed away, and Coach Bowden, take over, Alan. No, it's just when you think about football coaches and you think past that, you know, to the impact that they had just as a person. You know, there wasn't any better than him. You know, the
Think of the
man-
lives he's touched.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he continued to touch up until, you know, he had COVID back in the fall, and he beat that, and, you know, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Came out a couple of weeks ago that he was terminal, but, you know, his words were, I'm at peace. You know, he was a Christian, he was 91
Yep.
years old, he lived a long life, and you know, again, I've got two Heisman Trophy winners from Florida State up on the wall here, and
Let me tell you, Allen Eagle football had some Florida State in them.
Get that tomorrow.
Because we took a trip down during spring,
Yep.
watched them.
Uh-huh.
You talking about a machine and intensity and
Yep.
not one wasted rep.
Yep.
I mean, they coached them hard, but to your point, brought them up. Bobby loved them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they knew they were loved. And I've said this from day one. You build that foundation with a kid, which takes time, and that means you got to pull them into your office. Hey, what's going on? Not talk football. What's going on?
Yeah.
He did that. He built that foundation, and he knew that he could run them into the ground, and they'd go in the ground for him, because at the end, he'd come back and love them all and give them quality time.
Yeah.
Not that old, hey, good job today. Good job today. How's your mom today? It's quality time. He knew things about those kids, and that takes a special time.
yeah, it takes time too. And
And
that's
we did.
when
We
you're
lost a
willing.
legend this week.
And he, his funeral's here in 20 minutes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and so, God.
you're good, Mark.
He had an impact on you.
Well, he did, and I've met him.
Yeah.
He spoke at the SCB Athletic Forum several years ago, and I've got a hat. I took a Florida State hat with me, signed it, and it's just one of those deals. When you're a fan and you lose that, it's hard. So
It is.
to the Bowden
It is.
family, and the world's lost a great man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Like that.
God bless you.
So, anyhow, I just wanted to say, I appreciate all he's done and the impact he's had on so many people and me. Just when you try to look at people to emulate in your life, and you go, there's one right there.
He was a closet Razorback fan.
Was he?
He admitted that
Don't.
on TV.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
He was
Don't
on heavy
diminish what he's
medication.
done.
His
Bringing
one
it
flaw.
back. Yeah, his one flaw. Yeah. Good Lord.
Now,
He would have been taken up to heaven
We got
if
a
it wasn't
Razorback
for that.
starting at middle linebacker from Lovejoy, so bumper
Yeah,
pull.
you do.
Pull,
Oh,
what a
Bumper,
name.
he is. And he's
And that's his real name.
Yeah.
He had to
Yeah,
change.
yeah.
Bumper.
Pool.
Yeah.
And for head
Bumper.
coach is Johnny Ringo.
Like
Come
General.
on.
Yeah.
What's that?
Just like General.
Yeah, General Booty.
General Booty.
There wasn't a better football name than that. We had a lot of fun with him. So, anyhow, again, thank you for
Thank
coming
you guys.
out.
Appreciate
Guys,
you.
Thank you.
we
Yep.
appreciate it. So until next
Yeah.
week, folks, when we'll do a season preview,
Oh boy, it's going to be a good one.
we'll have a lot to say.
We got a fun
Till
season
next
coming up.
time, it's over and we're out.